Amelia had always been a dreamer. From the moment she first saw Ethan, she felt something she couldn't quite explain, an inexplicable flutter in her chest, a warmth that bloomed in the coldest parts of her heart. He was like the sun she watched from behind the clouds, always there, always shining, but unreachable. Ethan was everything Amelia wasn't. Tall, confident, effortlessly charming, and surrounded by a crowd that seemed to gravitate toward his every word. He was the kind of person who made others feel like they were the only one in the room. Amelia, by contrast, was quiet and thoughtful, the kind of girl who watched the world more than she participated in it. Her crush began innocently enough in high school. They shared a few classes, and Ethan had helped her once when she dropped her book. That brief interaction lingered in her mind like a treasured secret. From then on, every time he entered a room, Amelia's heart raced. She would imagine conversations that never happened, laugh at jokes he never made, and picture moments where their hands might accidentally brush. But Ethan never noticed her, not really. To him, Amelia was just another face in the crowd, a quiet girl with glasses who sat in the back of the classroom. He had his own world filled with friends, parties, and the girl he actually liked. The one who made him laugh and sparked his interest. For years, Amelia held onto her feelings in silence. She crafted beautiful letters she never sent, rehearsed conversations she never had, and hoped, always hoped, that someday he might see her as more than just a background character in his story. She tried to move on, she really did. There were other guys, kind and genuine, who liked her for who she was. But her heart stubbornly clung to the image of Ethan. She told herself it was just a phase, a silly crush that would fade, but deep down she knew it was something more profound, a bittersweet ache she didn't want to give up. Each time she saw Ethan with the girl he liked, her chest tightened with a familiar, painful squeeze. She smiled politely, nodded, and whispered congratulations in her mind. She never let anyone see the tears she swallowed or the nights she stayed awake wondering what she did wrong. One summer, after graduation, Amelia decided to take a chance. She gathered all her courage and wrote Ethan a letter, not just any letter, but one filled with honesty and raw emotion. She told him how long she had cared, how much she wished things were different, and how she had finally accepted that sometimes love isn't returned. She left the letter in his locker, hoping for a miracle. Days passed with no response. Then, one afternoon, she found a note slipped under her door. Ethan had read her letter. He was kind in his words, grateful for her honesty, but clear. He didn't feel the same way. It hurt more than she expected. But in that hurt, Amelia found a strange kind of peace. She realized love wasn't about possession or reciprocation. It was about courage, the courage to feel deeply and the courage to let go. In the months that followed, Amelia blossomed. She poured herself into art and writing, finding new ways to express the emotions she once buried. She made friends who cherished her quirks and began to believe in her own worth. Ethan remained a bittersweet memory, a chapter of her life that shaped her but didn't define her. And though her heart still whispered his name sometimes, Amelia knew she was no longer waiting for a light that never turned. She had become her own light, brighter, stronger, and free. After that summer, everything between Amelia and Ethan seemed to settle into a quiet distance. The letter, the honesty, it had closed one chapter, or so Amelia thought. She moved forward, building a life that no longer revolved around him, even if a small corner of her heart still held on to what once was. Ethan, meanwhile, felt the weight of her words longer than he expected. At first, he had been surprised by the letter, flattered but certain that Amelia was someone he admired from afar but never truly knew. He had never considered her in the way she imagined. She was quiet, easy to overlook, and the girl next door, not the girl in his daydreams. But as weeks passed, Ethan began to notice her in ways he hadn't before. It started small. A glance during class when she laughed softly at a joke he told, a moment when he saw her focused entirely on her sketchbook, drawing something beautiful that made him curious. Then came the afternoons when they crossed paths in the hallway, and he caught the genuine warmth in her smile. The more Ethan watched, the more he realized how wrong he'd been. Amelia wasn't just quiet, she was thoughtful, kind, and quietly brilliant in ways he hadn't bothered to see. He found himself wanting to talk to her, to hear what she thought about the books she read or the music she loved. But there was one thing holding him back: guilt. He felt guilty for never noticing her sooner, for taking her presence for granted, and most of all, for the pain he had unintentionally caused. Still, Ethan couldn't ignore the growing ache inside him, a yearning to know Amelia beyond the brief interactions they'd shared. He started to look for excuses to talk to her. He asked her opinion on homework, invited her to group study, and even made small jokes just to see her smile. Amelia noticed the change too. The way Ethan's eyes searched for her in the room, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her, and how he lingered in conversations a little longer than before. One chilly autumn evening, as the school held its annual festival, Ethan found Amelia alone near the glowing lanterns. The air smelled of cinnamon and roasted chestnuts, the world wrapped in golden light. Gathering his courage, Ethan approached her. "Amelia," he began, voice hesitant but earnest. I've been thinking a lot about what you said in your letter. I want to be honest with you now. I was wrong not to see you for who you really are. You're incredible, more than I ever realized." Amelia's heart fluttered, a mix of surprise and cautious hope. "I don't expect anything to change overnight," Ethan continued, "but if you're willing, I'd like to get to know you better. Not just the girl I glanced past in class, but the real you." She looked at him, searching his eyes for sincerity, and found it. Slowly, a smile broke across her face, radiant and free. "I'd like that," she whispered. From that moment on, their story began anew, not as a crush unreturned, but as two people discovering each other, learning to navigate the fragile beginnings of something real. Ethan learned to appreciate Amelia's quiet strength, her sharp wit, and the way she saw beauty in the little things. Amelia, in turn, saw the depth behind Ethan's confident exterior, the kindness, the regrets, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, love could grow in unexpected ways. Years later, Amelia stood in a sunlit gallery, surrounded by her artwork, vibrant paintings and delicate sketches that told stories of dreams, heartaches, and growth. She had become a celebrated artist, known not just for her talent but for the depth and emotion she poured into every piece. Ethan was there too, standing quietly beside her, proud and unwavering. They had come a long way since those tentative days of discovery and uncertain feelings. Their journey wasn't perfect. There had been moments of doubt, missteps, and fears, but through it all they had learned to listen, to understand, and to love with patience and honesty. Looking at Amelia, Ethan remembered the girl he once overlooked, the quiet dreamer with a heart full of hope. Now, she was the light that illuminated his world, a constant reminder that sometimes, the brightest love comes from the places we least expect. And as Amelia caught his gaze and smiled, she knew that this light, the one that had never truly faded, was finally theirs to share. Amelia sat quietly on a park bench, the soft rustle of autumn leaves swirling around her. Years had passed since those days of young longing and whispered confessions. Life had taken them on winding paths, sometimes together, sometimes apart. She often thought about Ethan, not with pain, but with a gentle nostalgia, like a favorite song that still touched her soul. Their love had blossomed slowly, like a fragile flower breaking through cracks in the pavement. It had faced challenges, misunderstandings, distance, and the inevitable changes time brings. Yet, it had also been a source of profound joy and growth. Amelia smiled softly, realizing that her crush, once a secret flame burning quietly in the dark, had become a light guiding her through the years. No matter where life took them, she was grateful. Grateful for the courage to love without guarantees, for the lessons learned in waiting and letting go, and for the unexpected ways hearts can change. Ethan's presence in her life had been more than a crush, more than a fleeting affection, it had been a beginning. And in that, Amelia found peace. The sun dipped low behind the trees, casting golden light over the park. Amelia closed her eyes, breathing in the moment, ready for whatever stories the future might hold.